Hello and welcome to Moneylife News and Views. I am Debashis Basu. About 3 weeks ago, when India went into a 21-day lockdown, I said we seem to be living in a fond hope that the spread of the virus would be contained and things would limp back to normalcy when the lockdown is lifted. I had asked at that time, what if this belief turns out to be false? Just as we underestimated the pandemic, what if we are underestimating the recovery time? Now, the 21-day lockdown has been extended to May 3rd, which is another 3 weeks. So the hope for normalcy just got pushed out a little bit. I had also mentioned that we may be ignoring second and third order effects of the lockdown. These effects have now started to kick in. Almost all businesses dependent on cash are closed. The working capital of many businesses is disappearing, especially those of small businesses. A disruption in supply chain, no cash flow, non-availability of labor, and a fall in purchasing power is going to break many small businesses. Only large, and that to consumer-facing businesses and essential ones, will keep going. These trends are colossal and unprecedented. The state's response, though, has been confused, meager, and misdirected. This is not really a surprise because the country was shut down with a 4-hour notice without any consultation or preparation. Thereafter, we expected to see, at the very least, a massive Covid-19 testing at a low cost and a huge output of masks and protective gear made available easily, at least to the healthcare professionals. But this didn't happen, although these are very crucial preventive measures which the private sector can deliver at a scale. But many factories that produce these items are lying closed because workers can't go to work. And the Supreme Court, in a radical overreach, ordered private laboratories to do testing for free, although this is now getting reviewed and changed. Expectedly, meanwhile, testing by private labs have dropped very sharply. This is the sort of unintended consequences of certain decisions we take. In fact, if the mishandling continues, we will have to prepare for 4 major trends according to me. Number 1, civic unrest. In Surat, migrant workers came out on the streets in large numbers, asking for the salaries and demanding permission to go back home. They set fire to vegetable carts and pelted stones. The police was called in to quell the mob. In Chennai, workers housed in a school protested against pathetic conditions leading to an outbreak of violence, and they were beaten up. Episodes such as these will increase across the country because we are not planning for these situations and human needs in situations like these. In a survey of 3,196 migrant workers, Jan Sahas, a non-government organization, found that 42% workers had no ration left even for that day, let alone for the duration of the first 21-day lockdown. And if the lockdown continued beyond 21 days, 66% of the workers mentioned that they will not be able to manage their households even for a week. This is a dangerous situation because this is not going to be limited to just one part of the country. Point number 2, rationing and price control. The government failed to ensure smooth movement of essential goods, so there is a severe demand-supply mismatch. Prices of fresh produce and grains are shooting up in urban areas while they rot in the fields. The response to politicians to such situations is to take the path of least resistance, which is imposing rationing and price control, which actually never works because the products are going to disappear and they're going to be even more expensive. Trend number 3, a more powerful state. Our first reaction to any serious problems in our lives is to demand that the government step in and do something. And the second reaction is to get a new law in place, as if these two things are going to solve our problems. Now that our lives have been disrupted completely and our struggles are increasing every day, more and more people will demand the government to make things right. This will, of course, be music to the ears of politicians and bureaucrats who are looking for more opportunities to expand their reach. But unfortunately, the state is extremely weak, and years of corruption and wastage has made the state unable to deliver the expectations of the people. Point number 4, center versus the states, which has not yet happened. It's going to happen very soon because the pie is shrinking very, very dramatically. The states are at the front line of the fight against coronavirus. They will demand more compensation from the center, but the center's revenues are going to fall dramatically. Oil consumption is down, and so the government is going to make less money from customs and excise duty. GST collections will be half the budgeted figures in March and April. The center still owes about 35,000 crore to states as GST compensation for December and January. And there are tens of thousands crores of other sorts of devolution. West Bengal is claiming 60,000 crores alone, single state, which they need from the states. Squabbles are going to break out anytime between the center and the states over resources. Things could have been different though. If the government had delivered on the reforms that it had promised and for which it had been voted twice, the state, that is the center, would have had much greater capacity to fight this battle. Instead, we got grandiose, white elephant-like ideas like Digital India, bullet trains, smart cities, Make in India, and so on, as well as wasteful, large infrastructure projects like super expressways, coastal roads, and now a 20,000 crore Central Avenue to remake New Delhi. Simultaneously, we had populist schemes from the Congress playbook. There was no attempt to clear the cobwebs of rules and regulations that stifle enterprises. Now, why is that important? Because enterprises alone, small to big to medium, doesn't matter what kind. It is the private enterprises alone who create jobs and who generate prosperity. And now, a tiny microbe is about to push us into a deep crisis. Thanks for watching.